Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Beth. Today we are doing my July reading wrap up and revealing our Grimm fairy tale read for August. And our Grimm fairy tale read for July was Rapunzel, and I wrote WTF. I guess I've never read the original Rapunzel, which is shocking, but clearly I haven't. The first thing I caught myself saying was, oh, that's where Into the Woods got it. You know, the musical. Yeah, it's very much more true to the story of Rapunzel than Tangled is, or any other version of Rapunzel. I had an issue with it because Rapunzel's not the sharpest tool in the shed. So the first thing I wrote was, again, with giving up a child for material things. Again, the whole firstborn child just, you know, goes off to be with somebody else. So that's how Rapunzel ends up in her tower, of course. And that's not her fault. But what comes after is, because she sings, the prince hears her singing, he spies enough to learn the catchphrase, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair situation. And then things just go awry. He climbs her hair, and Rapunzel, who's never seen a man before, she's been in this tower her whole life, goes from, I've never seen a man before, to by the time he leaves out the window of, yes, I'll marry you, there's a situation we have to talk about. And then by the time she does the really dumb thing, she's pregnant. We don't know it yet, but she's knocked up. I mean, she goes from, I've never seen a man before, to, yes, I'll marry you, to, I'm pregnant with babies, plural, so fast. But the moment of this story that about made me fall off a cliff is when Rapunzel says to Madame Gothel or whatever, the woman keeping her in the tower is actually named, how come you're so much heavier than the prince who comes to visit me? What? Why she outs herself. She doesn't get caught. Madame Gothel doesn't just suddenly see the prince climbing out the tower or into the tower or any other such thing. Rapunzel gives it all up. Like I said, she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. And then, of course, she gets banished into the wilderness where she gives birth to these two twins. The prince falls from the tower after Rapunzel not being there, and he's blinded and he's wandering through the lands, and eventually he ends up in the wilderness where she is, and she cries, and and her tears bring back his vision. Stop. I just need to go watch Tangled and wash my brain. Plus, singing Zach Levi. I mean, you know. It's just, I don't know. I just can't. With Rapunzel. I don't ever want to read Rapunzel again. Y'all don't make me read it again. I have anything to do with it. Yeah. So there's Rapunzel. Anywho, I came into July barreling my way through all things Murderbot Diaries. So this is 5, 6, and 7. And I decided to put them on individual pages instead of a full spread and then just summarize here, because I'm so in love with Murderbot at this point that what I write down doesn't even really matter. So the first one of those is Network Effect. I'm going to give you really short blurbs. In this one, Murderbot must navigate its complex feelings about its human crew when they are captured, pushing it to a drastic action to save them. He's always saving the humans, but that's Murderbot's job. He's a sec bot. He's a security bot. It. I keep saying he, because I listen to the audiobooks, and the narrator is a man. That's where I get the he. It is a sec bot, a security bot. And then we have fugitive telemetry. In this one, Murderbot reluctantly teams up with station security, doesn't want to work with station security at all, to solve a murder on Preservation Station, unraveling a mystery that tests its detective skills and patience with humans. Always. Always it's patience with humans, and yet Murderbot doesn't realize how human it is. And then in system collapse, Murderbot faces its own malfunction while trying to protect a colonized planet from the exploitive bearish Stranza Corporation, which views the colonists as potential slave labor. And I really could have just written over here, where's the next one? When will Murderbot number 8 be out? Because that's really all I care about. If you notice, I've given them all 5 stars. And I'm going to go back to the ones from last month that didn't get 5 stars. Like this one's 4.5. I'm going to make it 5. I've got one in here, I think it's 4. Where's it at? There it is. Rogue Protocol, 4. I'm going to make it 5. That's just how I feel about it. I am in my Murderbot era. I am enamored with Murderbot. It has been a really long time since I have felt this way about a character in a book series. Y'all are just going to have to let me have it because I just love it. I love it so much. I love the humor. I just love it. I love the whole thing. So we're just going to move on. Speaking of things that I love, I read Hamlet by William Shakespeare, which is all part and parcel of the fact that I read Judi Dench's Shakespeare, The Man Who Pays the Rent, and I've been itching to read Shakespeare ever since I read that book, and Hamlet's my favorite, and so I just sat down one day and read Hamlet. Just read it in that one day. Just said, I'm just going to read me Hamlet today. I read Hamlet. If you're living under a rock, or you were not exposed to Hamlet in secondary school, in this play, Prince Hamlet grapples with the murder of his father, seeking revenge against his uncle Claudius, who has usurped the throne and married Hamlet's mom so quickly after the funeral. So fast. Shakespeare's timeless tragedy delves into themes of betrayal, madness, and the quest for justice in a morally complex world. I didn't write a whole lot about it. I did write in one of my favorite quotes, which is, though this be madness, yet there is method in it. I have a tattoo that has the drama masks, and it has a ribbon around it and it says method in madness. It's like my ode to my bipolar disorder tattoo. So I wrote, did I need to read Hamlet again? No. Did I love it anyway? Yes. Yes. Hamlet, even though it is a tragedy, is one of Beth's comfort reads. It's just all we have to say. What I read next is not a comfort read. I read Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. Thought I had read this in the past, and much of it was still very vaguely familiar, but there was a big unsettling feeling that I had in it that wasn't familiar, and I thought, well, did I really read this or did I not? In the Island of Dr. Moreau, Edward Prendick finds himself stranded on a remote island where Dr. Moreau conducts grotesque experiments, transforming animals into human-like creatures. H.G. Wells' chilling novel explores themes of ethics, humanity, and the boundaries of scientific exploration. And that's all fine and good, and for those things I gave it 3 stars, because I can see why, in 1896, its themes and the sci-fi elements and the horror elements would have been pretty groundbreaking. However, those experiments, the humanoid-like creatures, we meet some of them before Prendick ends up on the island, and so he doesn't know what Dr. Moreau is up to. He can only relate said humanoid beings to actual humanoid beings, and references are made to features from certain ethnic groups, and the words disfigured, grotesque, ugly, hideous are used over and over and over and over and over again. And that's all before we find out that they are genetically engineered beings. And I wrote in here that there's a line of thinking that racism in literature composed in a known racist era or time is beyond criticism. And I disagree. This was the turn of the century, from the 1800s to the 1900s, and I found it distasteful. It was very difficult for me to get through. So I'm not going to elaborate a whole lot more on it. And it is science fiction, though, so we're still in my sci-fi era. And the next one is as well. Now, I do have this really weird piece of washi tape here, because there is a read in the middle that I can't tell you about, because I bought Christmas presents. I keep a list of potential gifts for individuals, and during the Prime days, I checked that list, and those particular books were half off. It is a series, And so I bought the first 3. And yes, they are a gift, but they're not a gift until Christmas. So I'm going to read them while I have them. And that's what's here. And that person might watch this video, so I can't share it with you. So you just have to wait until my full journal flip through at the end of the year to know what that is. And you'll probably see other taped pages because I'm going to read 2 and 3. That's how it goes. All right. So then I moved on to, again, still science fiction, Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. In Kindred, Dana, a modern black woman, is inexplicably transported back in time to the antebellum South, where she must navigate the brutal realities of slavery to ensure her own survival and lineage. Octavia E. Butler's powerful novel blends science fiction and historical fiction to explore themes of race, power, and the enduring impact of history. And if you're a regular watcher, you would know that in April, I do a book crawl on Independent Bookstore Day here in our town. We have this book crawl, and I try to pick up a book at all of the bookstores that I go to, and I did find this one at one of our used bookstores. And it's not the most popular cover, I think, for this book, but it's the one that I've got. It already had some annotating in it. Let's see, some highlighting and stuff. I add a little bit more to it. I did a hybrid read in between the book and the audiobook. And I really just wish I could sit down to dinner with Octavia E. Butler. She's been launched onto that list of, if you could have a meal with any 5 people, living or dead, who would that be? I'm going to add Octavia E. Butler to that list. Because for this to have been published in 1979, it's so far ahead of its time. This was written or published 5 years after I was born. That's crazy pants. And the thought processes that went into writing this, to put yourself in that perspective of someone being pulled from 1979 and plunked into slavery, bouncing back and forth in time. I have questions about the timelines and why she chose the timelines, and I can't say what those questions are because they would give away much of the plot points. But I have questions. What kind of personal journey has Octavia been on to make Dana's story both so terrible and so redemptive? I have questions about Maryland being the choice of antebellum South. We don't normally think of Maryland as a slave state, and we always think about Louisiana and Mississippi and Arkansas and Virginia, and I mean it definitively was, and maybe that's why she chose it, was to make all of our perceptions change. I don't know, there's just so much I want to ask her about this particular book. It is just astonishing to me, and I'm looking forward to picking up some other things by her as well. All right, and then that led me into more science fiction, and that is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. In this book, Gideon Nav, armed with her sword and a rebellious spirit, reluctantly teams up with her nemesis, Harrowheart Nonagemesis, to compete in a deadly trial that promises immortality and power. Tamsin Muir's darkly witty and imaginative novel blends necromancy, intrigue, and sharp humor in a tale of loyalty, rivalry, and survival. And Gideon the Ninth has jumped up next to Shakespeare, the Man Who Pays the Rent, in my 5-star reads. I loved this book. It is wackadoodle. You'll hear people on the internet talk about it. They'll tell you it's far out there. And it is far out there. I've heard others say that for half the book they didn't know what was going on. I totally knew what was happening, and I don't know what that says about my brain, that I followed along when so many other people were like, I don't know what the hell was happening for the first third or the first half of that book. It is so relatable, wildly imaginative world of 9 houses of varying faith type situations. The faith thing you can probably relate to in some way, shape, or form. Lots of religious trauma there. But it also very much could be our far future. There are references that keep it grounded and familiar. Like there's a quote in here about beating someone so long and hard that candy comes out of them without using the word piñata. And that's the sort of humor and stuff that is built into this book and the next one. I'm currently reading Harrow the Ninth as we come into August. And that one's even more wackadoodle. I'm actually a little confused right now. So that one I'm not following as well as I followed Gideon the Ninth. But I just appreciate, again, the witty writing. I've talked about being in a depression lately. Maybe I just need humor in my books right now, like with Murderbot and with Gideon the Ninth. Who knows what that whole situation is or why I'm drawn to it at this particular time in my life. Like even Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Again, you know, some serious, intense moments, but some great, great humor in the science fiction. And it's clearly what is speaking to me right now because these are the books that I am loving in 2024, which I'm not mad about. It was a great reading month. You know, I got to reread Hamlet. I love me some Hamlet. I finished the Murderbot Diaries and just crave having another one. And then jumped into Gideon the Ninth and, you know, had some more serious reads in the middle. But it's been a great, great reading month. And then I am already set up and ready to go for August. And the reason that I'm ready and set up to go for August is because I already filmed this once and didn't have the mic turned on. I didn't realize it. So here we go. So I promised when we set up for Rapunzel that we would do another princess in a tower as our juxtaposition. So Rapunzel being a familiar read, jumping into a less familiar read, and that is the Sea-Hare, a course by the Brothers Grimm. In the Sea-Hare, a king's daughter vows to marry only the suitor who can successfully hide from her for 3 days. And she has all of these windows in her tower and other things that helps her be able to spot them when they think they're hiding and she can see them. It's a whole situation. So the Sea-Hare, I am not going to set up the Storygraph read along. Those have kind of been a flop. So if you want to chitty chat about the Sea-Hare, you're welcome to come join us on Patreon, which will then connect to the Discord. And we can talk about it there because I spent most of my day today cleaning up the Discord. I think I finally have it figured out. So we've got some great channels set up. If it's specifically the reading content that you're looking for, we have a channel for the Grimm Reads. We have a Bring Your Own Book Club channel where you can chat about whatever you're reading right now. And y'all know how much I love first lines of books. And so we have a channel where you can drop in the first line of whatever you're reading. You can have access to all of that for the lowest patron membership of $2. Come over there and hang out with us and we can talk about the Sea-Hare, which is a really weird name for this story. I've read it and the name still doesn't fit for me. I mean, I know why it's titled that, but I still think it's odd. Now, what am I reading right now? I mentioned that I came into the month reading Harrow the Ninth because I just finished Gideon the Ninth. I'm still reading Indistractable by Nir Ayar, which is the Bullet Journal Book Club pick. And then Nettle and Bone, I haven't picked up in over a month, but it's still in my purse. It goes with me places. I just haven't read it. I'm about 70% of the way through. I keep saying maybe I'm going to finish it. Maybe I'll finish it in August. Now let's go ahead and peek back here really quickly. I'm not going to look at every page, but I did add the Sea-Hare here to this page. And then I have updated my goals page to add Hamlet and the Island of Dr. Moreau in as 2 of my classics. When I set up this page in 2023, I didn't actually have the book covers here. And then I was like, well, have I read 3 memoirs? And I was constantly flipping back and forth between my journal and this. And so I added the book covers in this time. I made changes to my series tracker. So The Wayfarers by Becky Chambers is added in. Murderbot is added in. Locked Tomb, which is Gideon the Ninth, is added in. And this, again, I've covered up because it's that series that I bought as a Christmas present. So you can't see it. It's wild to me. And it'll probably surprise you because it is out of character in terms of genre and format for this channel. It's really not out of character for me. It's just been a long time since I went down this road, if that's all the cryptic that you need. So, and then, like I said, I have added, I don't like to add things to my favorites bracket until I'm absolutely positive that they need to be there. So we had added in Judi Dench's Shakespeare, the Man Who Pays the Rent. Here's Gideon the Ninth. And then I added in All Systems Red from Martha Wells as representative, being the first book, the Murderbot Diaries, being representative of the entirety of the series that I'm now obsessed with. So that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more spots to pick before things have to start bracketing down for the year. And that is it. That is my reading wrap up for July. If you liked this video, y'all, you know what to do. Give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. The link for the Patreon is also down there if you want to come join us on Patreon and Discord. And I will catch you in the next one.